Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Dave, and welcome to ProGuides. Today is a glorious day. Today is the day that underrated weapons rise up. Today we will shine a light on the guns of Counter-Strike that have been cast aside. This whole saga with the AUG has taught us that just because a gun isn't getting used doesn't mean it isn't worth using. All guns deserve love, so we're going to give them some. When you think about the weapons of CS, what do you think of? AWP? Of course. AK? A classic. M4? Sure. Until the CTs can steal one of those AKs. Deagle? You gotta have those one-taps. But what else? Despite Valve's efforts, the meta of CS has been dominated by this core of weapons for the longest time. But the times are a-changin'. Counter-Strike's buffs to other weapons and its new economy system are making more and more weapons viable. Okay, you're never gonna give up an AWP for one of these guns, but maybe you'll see them in a new light. Maybe you'll pick them up when you normally wouldn't. That's what we're here for, to make a tiny change to your CS world. So, let's dive in. Our first underrated weapon is the MP9. Now, before you jump down our throats, we know that there are some smart cookies out there that are already on the MP9 hype train. Choo-choo. But some people haven't seen the light of what is clearly the greatest SMG. For just $12.50, you can get this pocket rocket, which boasts the highest fire rate in the game. If you don't count the Glock's burst fire, that is. Which of course you don't, because it's the Glock's burst fire. So, surely all this fire rate comes at the cost of accuracy, right? Nope. The MP9 has excellent accuracy ratings even when moving, the best recovery rate of any SMG, and it even has the highest jumping accuracy amongst the SMGs. Couple this with its high movement speed and you'll be fooning your way around corners in no time. High fire rate, great accuracy, and the best recovery rate? Well, that sounds just perfect for short, deadly bursts. Okay, so the MP9 does have a downside. It's damage against armor. It's really not great. If you're in a fight with a rifle, you do not want to be hitting body shots, or taking any fights at medium range. Instead, keep your MP9 firmly at head height. Its high fire rate and accuracy means you can easily grab yourself some quick double tap headshots, and suddenly that armor isn't much of an issue. If you haven't already, give the MP9 a whirl. If you've got the aim, it's far more deadly than you think, especially on maps with tight choke points like Inferno or Nuke. The spray pattern of an MP9 does get a bit severe and wacky in the middle, but if you stick to bursts and close ranges, which it's clearly meant for, you'll be popping skulls like a pro. Next up, we have the Auto Shotty, or the XM1014. Did you remember that was its full name? Because we sure didn't. We thought that was the name of a spider robot boss in Final Fantasy VIII. We were torn between the Auto Shotty and the Mag 7. Since its price drop, the Mag 7's bang for your buck is undeniable. But we felt like the Mag 7 has seen its share of competitive and pro play. It's had its day in the sun. So instead, we're going to focus on the rising star of the Auto Shotty. While the Mag 7 is ridiculously effective taking down single targets, the Auto Shotty's rapid fire is there for stopping groups. Get it on the choke point and you can easily shut down a fully kitted rush. Just ask Jax. Jax is far from the first to try the Auto Shotty, as Liege takes it quite regularly on Nuke, and Oscar's gotten quite a few highlight clips with it as well. But the player who truly showed us what it could do was Hiko, as far back as 2015. But as we saw with the AUG, pros aren't usually that keen at trying anything but their M4s and AKs. Naturally, the Auto Shotty relies heavily on your positioning. You don't want to be caught in the open with this thing. This means it gets far more play on the CT site where you have more control over where you meet the enemy. Since you'll obviously be using this weapon at close range, things like its accuracy don't really matter. But do be aware of its recoil. Because of the weapon's fire rate, which is more than double any other shotguns, the weapon does kick vertically if you're spamming. The way its damage is calculated means you won't be killing any armored enemies in one blast to the chest. So, like the MP9, be sure to aim for heads. Yeah, we know, that's the story for every weapon in CS. Just shoot them in the head and you win. But shotguns have set spread patterns, and the Auto Shotty's two pellets that are closest to your crosshair land almost on top of one another. Get this on an enemy's skull, and it's night-night. Next up, we'll look at a T-side weapon, the MAC-10. The MAC-10 is the cheapest SMG on the market, coming in at $1,050. And it certainly comes with its flaws, but you can absolutely make it work for your T-side. So, first, what's wrong with it? Well, it has the lowest armor penetration of the SMGs, tied with the Bison. Remember the Bison? So you're not going to beat any armored CTs in a fight. It has pretty bad damage fall off, so you're also not winning duels against rifles. And its accuracy stats are pretty middle of the road all around. Why the heck are we recommending it then? Well, because it's dirt cheap, letting you load up on grenades to toss before a push. It has high damage for an SMG, tied with the MP7, and beaten only by the P90. And it has the fastest movement speed of any SMG. This makes it ideal for what your T-side always needs in a push. Fodder. Someone always has to be the first one to go around that corner. And a fast, high-damage, nadeless player with nothing to lose is just what you need. The biggest disadvantage a T has when pushing a site is that they don't know where the CTs are holding from. Using a MAC-10 player as bait gets you that information. The CTs can't ignore the MAC-10 player. They still have to put him down. So, while the CTs are occupied with that, the rest of your team can push out onto the site. Sacrificing the MAC-10 player to draw a CT's focus lets you guarantee the trade without losing a rifle. Obviously, nobody enjoys playing as bait, but say your team are forcing up, and they can all get rifles and grenades. Meanwhile, you're stuck making a choice between a Galil and armor, or a MAC-10 and grenades. If that's the case, the MAC-10 is the right play. Now let's take a look at a pistol next. The 5.7. What's that? Buy a pistol other than a Deagle, P250, or CZ? I know, we're really off the deep end now. But some players never stopped using the 5.7, even after its movement nerf. Still, for most, it's been long forgotten, replaced with the CZ. Most players prefer the one-and-done consistency of the CZ, but the 5.7 has a more long-term, all-around usefulness. We know we've gone on about how some other weapons rely on headshots. I mean, headshots are still what you want, yes, but the recoil of the 5.7 helps you get them. With a CZ, if you don't get a headshot in your first double tap, you're pretty much a sitting duck. Even worse, the second bullet of a CZ's burst doesn't land that close to the first. With a 5.7, both the first and the second shot are pretty much right next to each other. More than this, the recovery time of a 5.7 is much better than the CZ. If you miss your CZ double tap, wait a beat and try again. Your shots are not going to land dead center, but do the same with your 5.7 and they will. This is what we meant about the long-term usefulness of the 5.7. The CZ is the definition of a one and done. You either get a headshot or you die. With a 5.7, you have 10 chances per magazine to get that double tap. The better range and accuracy of the 5.7 also lets you hold angles further back, keeping you alive for longer. Imagine you're defending the A side on Dust 2. The T's are pushing up short. With a CZ, you're forced to either play the short corner and hope you can drop down to CT spawn, or hold from the site and wait until they're practically on top of you before you strike. Both are high risk, just like the CZ. But with a 5.7, you can dance around the site or hold from a ramp. You can double tap peaks over and over, constantly slowing the enemy push. The 5.7 isn't a straight replacement for the CZ. They do different jobs. But if you're not confident in the CC's playstyle, then try out the 5.7s. It's like a Glock that can actually kill things. The last weapon we're looking at is the Scout. Sorry, I mean the CSGO, which we obviously all call it all the time. Sure. It's not that the Scout doesn't see play, it's just that the Scout doesn't see enough play for how good it is. It's seen as just being a worse AWP, but it can change the whole structure of a round, and for very little risk or investment. The Scout is a sniper rifle. Naturally, this means that you can safely deal damage far away from a choke point. So, let's look at a Scout attack from the enemy's point of view. You're a CT on the B side of Overpass. Your job is to check and clear monster. You're armored up and you have an M4 in hand. You get shot in the chest from a Scout and suddenly you're down to 37 HP. There's no way you're playing the rest of the round like you would at 100 health. Usually you'll try and defend the entry points and get a kill. You can't do that at 37 health. You're forced to fall back and try and stay alive. The pushback gives the T side far more ground to work with. It lets them get more aggressive in their push, knowing one of the defenders is low. And the more tags you can get, the more ground you can gain. The Scout isn't a budget AWP. If you're using it to try and get entries, you're not going to have much success. Instead, you should try and apply pressure to the other team. How the enemy would normally play the round gets tossed out the window once they're knocked down to less than half HP. If they do play as usual, they'll lose all their duels. The Scout may be a sniper, but it's not there for frags. It's a tool you should use to manipulate the enemy. That was our 5 picks for underrated weapons in CS. None of them are going to replace ones like the AWP or the M4, but they can do more than most people think. Don't believe us? Take the risk and try them out for yourself. They might just surprise you. That's it from us today. Thanks so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below which weapons you think are underrated. And for more weapon breakdowns, be sure to check out ProGuides.com, where we have all the info you need for the guns of CSGO. Till next time, good luck in your matches.